Did you know there is one essential molecule inside every single cell in your body that is actively draining away after you turn 40, taking your youthful energy with it? Imagine a future where you don't just feel good for your age, but truly feel young again. And the key is understanding a tiny, complex alphabet soup of science. NAD+ versus NMN versus NR. For years, the promise of reversing aging has been locked behind a chemical wall, and for those over 40, the declining level of nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, or NAD+, is a scientific reality linked to everything from afternoon energy crashes to slower metabolism and fading mental clarity. NAD+ is not just some fad supplement. It is an indispensable coenzyme that fuels over 500 enzymatic reactions in your body, meaning it is literally involved in virtually every biological process, including the two most critical to longevity, energy creation and DNA repair. Think of your body's cells as a giant metropolis, and NAD+ is the electricity that powers the city, particularly the mitochondria, which are your cellular power plants. The bad news is that by the time you reach middle age, your NAD+ levels can plummet by as much as 50%. This decline is considered a primary hallmark of aging, because less NAD+ means less energy for your cells to function, less ability to repair daily DNA damage, and a slow, creeping metabolic decline. But the good news is that science has identified potent precursors, molecules that the body can use to efficiently make more NAD+, and you've probably heard their names, NMN and NR. The crucial question we will answer in this video is not if they work, but which one is truly the most effective, most bioavailable, and best supported by clinical trials for someone over 40. You see, NAD+ itself is a massive molecule that cannot simply be absorbed by your cells when taken as a supplement, which is why you must take a smaller precursor. And this is where the controversy and the complexity begins. The two main contenders are Nicotinamide Mononucleotide, NMN, and Nicotinamide Riboside, NR. And while both are forms of vitamin B3, their entry points into the cell, their mechanisms of action, and their clinical results show distinct, surprising differences. We are going to deep dive into the complex NAD+ salvage pathway, the main route your body uses to recycle and produce this vital coenzyme, and reveal exactly where NMN and NR enter the process, because the molecule that gets you closest to the final product isn't always the winner. The scientific community is currently split, with some researchers favoring NR because it may have a clearer, confirmed mechanism for entering the cell via a specific transporter, and others championing NMN for its slightly more direct chemical structure to NAD+. Hold that thought on which one is structurally closer, because a recent groundbreaking study on postmenopausal women with prediabetes revealed a specific tangible health benefit from one of these precursors that the other has yet to replicate. And we'll tell you exactly what that was and why it matters to your long-term health. Let's start by looking closer at the structural difference between NMN and NR, because it sets the stage for the entire debate. Remember, NAD+ is the final product, the fully charged battery our cells need. NMN, or Nicotinamide Mononucleotide, is a molecule that is structurally just one step away from NAD+. It is NR, or Nicotinamide Riboside, with an added phosphate group making NMN larger. For a long time, the prevailing scientific thought was that because NMN is larger, it was simply too big to cross the cell membrane directly to get to the machinery inside the cell. This theory suggested that NMN had to first be broken down, or dephosphorylated, into the smaller NR molecule, which then easily crossed the membrane, only to be converted back into NMN inside the cell before finally becoming NAD+. If that were the whole story, NR would be the clear winner, smaller, faster, and more efficient, because it avoids the initial breakdown step and the reassembly step inside the cell. But here is where the science gets fascinating and challenges the old assumption. In a discovery that completely upended this model, researchers found evidence of a specific, dedicated NMN transporter in the gut of mice, a gate known as SLC12A8, that is specialized for shuttling NMN directly into the bloodstream without converting it to NR first. Love this video? You'll enjoy what's linked in the description too. Don't miss out. While this dedicated transporter's role in human cells is still being rigorously investigated, Its discovery hints that NMN may have a direct entry mechanism, making it potentially more potent or faster acting in certain tissues, like the gut and potentially others. So, the theory of a direct route for NMN is a compelling argument for its advocates, because if it bypasses the NR step, it is structurally closer to the desired end product, NAD+. This distinction in how they enter the cell matters immensely, because it speaks to bioavailability, the proportion of the supplement that actually reaches its target destination and has an effect. In simple terms, even if you take a large dose, if most of it is degraded or cannot enter the cell, you are wasting your money. Now, let's pivot from the laboratory to the human body, focusing specifically on the results that matter most to people over 40: metabolic health, physical endurance, and cardiovascular function. Remember that groundbreaking study I mentioned? It involved postmenopausal women who were overweight and pre-diabetic, a key demographic struggling with age-related metabolic decline. The study revealed that NMN supplementation significantly improved their muscle insulin sensitivity. Why is this a big deal? Improved insulin sensitivity means your cells are better at using glucose for energy, which is a powerful anti-aging metric that helps ward off type 2 diabetes and supports healthy weight management. Crucially, in separate randomized controlled trials using NR, even at significantly higher doses, researchers found no comparable benefit on insulin sensitivity or glucose metabolism in a similar demographic of middle-aged, obese, insulin-resistant men. This single but dramatic clinical difference gives NMN a powerful, evidence-based edge in the realm of metabolic anti-aging. Now, that doesn't mean NR is without its own clinical victories. It simply means the two molecules appear to have different strengths depending on the tissue they are targeting. For example, NR has been shown in human trials to be well tolerated and highly effective at increasing NAD+ levels in the blood, and some studies have hinted at its potential to reduce blood pressure and aortic stiffness, suggesting a benefit for cardiovascular health. However, a closer look at the data shows these cardiovascular improvements were often not statistically significant in early trials, and later trials on NR showed disappointment in improving parameters like total energy expenditure or blood glucose in healthy adults. This brings us to a critical, often overlooked element of the debate: tissue specificity. We now understand that different cells and organs may prefer one precursor over the other due to the varying levels of the enzymes and transporters present in those tissues. For example, some research suggests that while NMN may be rapidly absorbed and metabolized in the gut and liver, certain other tissues, particularly skeletal muscle, might rely on the NR to NMN conversion to efficiently boost their internal NAD+ supplies. The complexity lies in the fact that your longevity goal is not just to raise NAD+ in your blood, but to restore it in vital organs like your muscle, brain, and liver, and the science is still trying to map the most efficient route for each. The conversation is shifting away from asking which one is universally better to asking which one is better for a specific outcome, like improving aerobic performance or protecting neurological function. Beyond metabolism and energy, there is a looming health concern for many over 40: cognitive decline and neuroprotection. Maintaining the health of your brain's neurons and the clarity of your mental function is where the role of NAD+ boosting becomes absolutely paramount. In animal models of neurodegenerative conditions, NMN has demonstrated some of the most compelling results, even showing an ability to mitigate the accumulation of certain detrimental brain proteins associated with conditions like Alzheimer's. Though we must stress that human clinical data for both NMN and NR in this area is still in its early stages. However, NMN has recently been shown in human trials involving older adults to improve certain metrics of physical function, such as walking speed and grip strength, and even reduced feelings of drowsiness in those who took it in the afternoon, benefits that strongly correlate with overall vitality and neuromuscular health. For NR, its strength often lies in its established safety profile and a slightly longer history of human studies, showing it is incredibly effective at raising NAD+ levels in the blood and demonstrating anti-inflammatory properties, particularly in muscle tissue. But here is the million-dollar tip for anyone over 40. Neither of these precursors works in isolation. The real magic of NAD+ repletion happens when you combine supplementation with lifestyle interventions, especially exercise. Think of it this way. Aging and muscular contraction increase the demand for NAD+, but NAD+ replenishment is often the limiting factor. Exercise is one of the most powerful natural activators of NAD, the rate-limiting enzyme in the NAD+ salvage pathway, meaning physical activity naturally primes your cells to make and use more NAD+. Recent studies, mostly in animal models but with promising human parallels, suggest that NMN supplementation, specifically when paired with aerobic exercise, can create a powerful synergistic effect. Join our community and never miss out on new content. Subscribe today. This combination has been shown to result in better aerobic endurance, improved glucose regulation, and overall systemic energy metabolism superior to either exercise or supplementation alone. In other words, taking a precursor like NMN may supercharge your morning walk or your strength training session, converting that effort into far greater cellular benefit and physical performance than before. A true life extension hack that works on a molecular level. Now for the inevitable question: are NMN and NR safe for long-term use? Both nicotinamide mononucleotide and nicotinamide riboside have been consistently shown to be safe and well tolerated in multiple human clinical trials, even at high doses up to 1,000 to 1,250 milligrams per day, and for periods up to 12 weeks. Reported side effects are generally mild and transient, similar to placebo, including minor digestive upset, a light rash, or a headache, but these are rare. The important caveat here is that long-term data, meaning continuous use for several years in a large population, is still limited because these molecules are relatively new to human clinical research. This is a key piece of reliable scientific information. What we have is strong short-term safety data, but we are all waiting for the definitive decade-long studies to draw final conclusions on decades of use. Another crucial point to consider is the purity and sourcing of your supplement, especially for NMN. Due to its molecular structure, NMN can be less stable than NR and is easily degraded by heat and light, meaning a poorly manufactured product might contain degraded, inactive components that turn your investment into expensive vitamin B3 waste. High-quality suppliers for both NMN and NR use stabilized forms and provide third-party testing to ensure you are actually getting the molecule and the dose listed on the label. Finally, we arrive at the ultimate decision: NMN versus NR. Which is best for you? While some prominent longevity researchers, including certain pioneers in the field, have publicly stated a preference for NMN based on its proximity to the final NAD+ molecule and its more dramatic results in foundational metabolic and endurance trials, the scientific consensus is not yet absolute. The choice often boils down to your personal health priorities and your risk tolerance. If your primary goal is to target metabolic health, insulin sensitivity, and physical performance, and you are comfortable with the cutting edge of science that, while promising, has fewer completed human trials, NMN may be your choice. If you prioritize a supplement with a longer track record of human safety data, reliable blood NAD+ elevation, and fewer regulatory complexities in certain regions, NR presents a highly compelling and well-tolerated option. However, the most nuanced and increasingly popular answer among biohackers and informed consumers over 40 is, take both. Because of the potential for different tissues to prefer one precursor over the other, with the gut potentially favoring NMN's direct route, and muscle potentially favoring NR's conversion process, a dual approach may be the most comprehensive strategy to ensure NAD+ levels are restored across all of your body's critical, age-vulnerable systems. No matter which path you choose, remember that these supplements are not a substitute for a healthy diet, sufficient sleep, or regular exercise. They are powerful tools designed to amplify the benefits of an already health-focused lifestyle. They represent the ability of modern science to reverse decades of cellular wear and tear and help you, at 40, 50, and beyond, unlock the energy, clarity, and vitality you thought were permanently lost to the march of time. Are you over 40 and living your best life? Share your inspiring story with the world and spread positivity in the comments below. 3 lifestyle habits beat pills for telomeres, energy, and sleep after 40. Let's watch the next video here.